You, Chapter 1. Raindrops were falling on my face, softly brushing it with their cold sweeps. They gracefully slided down, descending my wet dress. Storm was near. I could feel the electric notes of the upcoming lightning in the air. City awaited it, crouching on a low start, ready to run its marathon, accept this challenge from the nature. I often come to Earth, especially for moments like this. There is something more complex about this place, yet I can never figure it and end up coming here again, craving more of it. It has been a couple of decades since that storm happened in my lifetime. So much has changed since then. I lost half of my own self, together with my power, and now it belongs to some schizo Hello Kitty obsessed girl. And those are not my words. Just look at her actions. I honestly believe she had finally lost her marbles. First, she starts giving interviews about how bad vampires are. Then proceeds to bully vampire students in the academy. And in the end, attempts her own act of a little yet still full-on justifiable genocide of vampires living on Darton with her very own terrorist group. Cute indeed. Of course, I suffered too. Had and still have to fully accept that it is not going to be as it was before. The biggest hit was probably when the Fang of Infinity did not see my humble soul as a worthy power holder of a vampire. Oh, that was marvelous. But hey, in the end, I have discovered this amazing place that humans call Earth. And what would you think? Immediately fell in love with it. Though not without troubles of my own kind. Those girls did not at any point deserve to die in such pitiful manner, and I am the one to blame it for. I have lost some marbles of my own, I guess. But that was it. My inner child woke up and yawned for a while, and it will not happen again. Definitely. Probably. Rain was generously showering school's courtyard. Inside, a bell rang, vigorously signalizing to people that their lessons are over. I quickly transformed to an average high schooler, white shirt, blue skirt, and black polished shoes that were shining like it was their first day of being born. Upon tying a red ribbon around my now brown hair, people sprawled onto the courtyard's cracked concrete as fast as cannon shoots its shells. My green eyes were observing, intaking every bit, every conversation I could see, hear, and simply sense. This cacophony of sounds drove me crazy, making me heady from this wild emotional roller coaster. And then he came. Brown, unbrushed hair, blue, warmly pessimistic eyes, or is he a realist? Can never figure it out, really. Name? Max, of course. I have randomly came across him upon strolling the evening streets. A rooftop explorer he was. Definitely not the most confident one, eh? But who am I to judge? In books they write such cliché as love from the first sight. Well, I guess it can happen really, because I am hardly able to explain it myself. A 600-year-old creature falling in love? It seems wild, quite frankly speaking. Not even a cocky French phrase to add from my side. And no need to, really. The rain went off, somewhere away, leaving the city dripping and shiny, like it had just stepped out of a bath it didn't want to take. I followed Max home, keeping the distance between us. My boots were making silent steps on the wet pavement. He didn't turn around once. Humans never do. unless you give them a reason. His shoulders were slumped, hands buried in his jacket, like he was carrying something heavy. I wondered what it was, that heartbreak, the crushing banality of algebra homework. Whatever it was, it made him look smaller than he should have been. The city buzzed around us, like a giant beehive, trying to blind with its flickering signs. Puddles reflected the neon glow, pink, blue, green, like the streets were bleeding color. People shuffled by, heads tilted down against the world, clutching umbrellas or takeout delivery bags. I watched them, these fragile little creatures, and felt a tug in my chest. Earth was a mess. Wars, greed, people screaming at each other over nothing. But there was something about it I couldn't neglect. Maybe it was the way they kept going even when it made no sense at all. In the vampire realm, we had forever, and we spent it plotting, clawing, and tearing each other apart. Here they had what, a century tops, and they still found time to laugh over burnt toast or hold hands in the rain. It was absurd, beautiful to the fullest, but absurd. Max drifted onto a side street, the kind with run-down brick buildings and windows that stared blankly at nothing. The air smelled of wet asphalt and something faintly sour. I stayed back, blending into the shadows. My eyes were locked onto his figure. What was it about him? I had seen 1,000 humans, maybe more, but this one, this slim boy with the messy hair, kept pulling me in. Maybe it was the simian blood that I could still taste in the air around him. Or maybe it was simpler than that. Maybe I just liked the way he walked, like he was apologizing to the ground with every step of his. He disappeared into his building. The door slammed shut behind him with a sound that echoed in my bones. I stopped, leaning against a lamppost. Its cold metal was biting into my shoulder. The city buzzed on, oblivious to me, and I let my mind drift. Back home, power was everything. Sasha had made sure of that, stripping me bare and leaving me half a shadow. Here, though, power didn't seem to matter as much. These people didn't need magic to survive. They had coffee, stubbornness, and simply each other. It made me wonder what for I had been fighting for all those centuries. What was the point of it if I ended up here, alone, stalking a boy who didn't even know I existed? A drop of leftover rain slid off the lamppost and hit my cheek, cold and sharp. I wiped it away, smirking at myself. Get it together, Martha. You are not some tragic hero in a human novel. But the thought stuck, heavy and unwelcome, as I turned and melted back into the cityscape. Chapter 2. Evening swung itself over the city, like a lazy cat, all with soft edges and quiet purrs. I had comfortably seated myself on a twisted tree outside Mac's window. My bat wings were tucked tight, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. He was inside, moving through his little life with a kind of rhythm that made me jealous. Backpack laying on the floor, shoes kicked off, a quick scroll through his phone before he flopped onto the bed. Simple. Boring even, and yet I couldn't look away. Humans are a puzzle I will never solve. They spend their days running in circles, work, eat, sleep, repeat, like ants in a colony they don't even like. But then they do things like this. sit in a dim room, staring at nothing, and somehow make it mean something. Max rubbed his eyes, yawning, and I wondered what he was thinking. Was he happy? Tired? Did he ever feel that itch, that pull towards something bigger? Or was he content with this tiny, fleeting existence? I envied him that. The ability to just be without the weight of eternity pressing down on your shoulders. My thoughts spiraled, as they always did, to the truth I wanted to keep locked away from myself. Of course, he was a simian descendant, marked by that golden spiral buried deep in his blood. I could feel it, faint, but it was there, a whisper of the power Sasha had stolen from me. One bite, one spell, and I could take it back, be whole again. But I wouldn't. I couldn't. Because somewhere between stalking him through the rain and watching him sleep, I had fallen for him. Ridiculous, right? 600 years of cynicism, and here I was, mooning over a boy who didn't even know my name. I remembered the night I had saved him. It was a month ago, maybe two. Time blurs when you don't count it. He was walking home, headphones busting, when the department mages showed up. Two of them, dressed in smugness and bad cologne, sniffed out that simian spark. They would have gotten him in a split of a second if I hadn't stepped in. A flick of my wrist, a burst of red sparks, and they were gone, ashes on the wind. Max didn't even blink, just kept walking, lost in whatever song was drowning him out of this world. I had stood there after, chest tight, wondering why I had bothered. But I knew why. I would do it again too. Vampires, mages, elves, whatever came for him, he was mine to protect, even if he would never know it. He turned off the light, and I shifted closer. My claws dug into the bark of the tree. The room went dark, but I could still see him, curled up under the covers. His face was soft and unguarded. He was pretty like this, all sharp angles and quiet peace. I've seen beauty before. Palaces, paintings, lovers with blood like wine. But this was different. Simpler, real. What is love anyway? I thought. The question curled around me like smoke. A trick, a trap, a way to make the endless years hurt less? I didn't have an answer, but watching him breathe, slow and steady, I felt it anyway. The stars winked at me through the branches, and I sighed. Enough pondering for one night. With a soft flap, I launched into the air as the city shrunk below me. Sleep tight, Max. Dream of something better than me. Chapter 3. The roof of Max's building was a jagged square of concrete, sandy under my boots, as I landed and shifted back to the girl from the courtyard. Brown hair, green eyes, unremarkable enough to blend in. The sky was a perfect dome of black, studded with stars that glittered like they had been polished just for me. I sat on the edge, legs dangling, and tipped my head back to drink them in. They were everywhere, sharp, bright, endless, and for a moment I forgot who I was. I had read something about stars in one of those Earth articles the other day. How they're just balls of gas burning millions of miles away, fusing hydrogen into helium or whatever. It shocked me, honestly. I had always thought of them as magic, little pieces of eternity pinned to the sky. But no, they're science, measurable and mundane. Still, knowing that didn't make them less beautiful. If anything, it made them more proof that even the ordinary could be extraordinary if you looked at it right. Maybe that's why I liked them. They were like roses, I suppose, lovely from afar, but prickly, with secrets up close, revealing them only to a chosen stranger. A memory bubbled up, uninvited but welcome, and I let it play out. There was a girl once, Estrella, she called herself, and I had gone by Luna when I first met her, funnily enough. She was a wild thing, all sharp edges and star-chased dreams, running off into the night like the world couldn't hold her. I had watched her from the shadows, amused by her fire, until the night she nearly burned out. She was obsessed, chasing those shiny dots in the sky, leaving everyone behind, family, friends, some poor boy who loved her. And then she met me, though in a slightly different appearance, and everything changed. A star fell into her hands, and with it, a truth she couldn't ignore. You can't live for the sky if you forget the ground. I laughed, a real, honest laugh that echoed off the rooftop. Estrella had pulled her life together after that, found a balance. I never quite managed. The stars kept shining, cold and distant, and I leaned back on my hands, letting the night settle around me. Maybe I would figure it out someday, how to be more than a shadow, more than a memory. For now, though, this was enough. Chapter 4. I stayed on the roof all night, lost in the stars and my own tangled thoughts, and now the sun was slowly crawling up, shy at first, then bold. It started as a thin line of gold on the horizon, spilling over the city like molten honey, turning the buildings into silhouettes of fire. The sky blushed pink, then orange, then a fierce, burning yellow, and I couldn't look away. It was gorgeous, raw and alive in a way the night never could be. A new day, a new chance, or whatever humans told themselves to keep going with their lives. For me, it was just another sunrise. But damn, if it didn't feel like something more this time. A sound snapped me out of it, the door to the roof swinging open. I whipped around, heart slammed against my ribs, and there he was, Max, misty-eyed and tumbled, staring at me like I had grown fangs right there in front of him, which was honestly fair. I had fangs, just not where he could see them. What are you doing here?" he asked. His voice was flowing with sleep. Watching the sun," I said, too quickly, then cursed myself. "Smooth, Marta." Couldn't sleep. You?" Same, I guess." He scratched his head, squinting at me. Do I know you?" I hesitated, but then threw my caution away to the wind. I'm Martha. We're in math together, maybe?" Recognition flickered, or maybe he just pretended it did. "Oh, right, I'm Max." "I know," I burst out, then flinched. "I mean, yeah. Hi, Max." He shuffled over and sat beside me, close enough that I could smell the faint soap on his skin. Our legs dangled off the edge. The drop below us was a quiet threat that we both ignored. We didn't talk for a while, just watched the sun climb higher, painting the world in light. It was nice, too nice, and my head started spinning with all the things I shouldn't say. "You are a simian. I could use you. I won't. I can't. I'm not even human, and you're..." I slid my arm through his, careful, like I was testing a trap. He tensed, then relaxed, letting me rest against him. It was warm, solid, and for a stupid, perfect second, I felt safe. Like nothing could touch me. Not Sasha, not the department, not the endless years stretching out ahead. It was a lie, but it was a good one. A shield I could hide behind, just for a little longer. But then the thought came, small at first, then loud and insistent. This isn't yours. You will ruin him. I tried to shove it down, to focus on the heat of his arm against mine, but it wouldn't let go. It grew, clawing at me, until I couldn't breathe. I had to do something, anything, before I lost my nerve. I turned to him. My hand found his cheek. His skin was rough and warm under my fingers. His eyes met mine, blue and frightened, and my heart kicked into overdrive. I leaned in, slow, giving him every chance to pull away. He didn't. His lips met mine, soft and unsure, then surer, and it was everything, sweet, desperate, alive. Tears spilled down my face, hot and fast, because I knew what came next. I pulled back, breathless, and saw the question in his eyes. Before he could ask it, I raised my hand. Red sparks flickered at my fingertips. "I'm sorry," I whispered, pressing the magic onto his forehead. His gaze went blank, glassy. The light faded as the spell took hold. "It is better for you this way, love." He stayed there, frozen, a statue under the rising sun, as the sparks danced around him. I stood up, my legs were shaking, and looked at him one last time. The tears wouldn't stop, but I smiled anyway. Then I turned and left, shutting the rooftop door behind me, leaving him to forget and me to remember. Epilogue. Autumn. Wet leaves were falling from trees like snow, leaving a trail of fading life. The sun, weakening, tried its best to give people the last crumbs of vitamin D. Lazy clouds were drifting the sky just for a show, not even trying to hide the golden circle behind their backs. Today marks a year, exactly a year since my life split into before and after. Only today, the weather will definitely better. A sign of my right choice. The capital hummed with the noise of cars and brake pads as usual, smelled of fresh bread near small bakeries, lived with the heartbeat of thousands of people crawling like little ants, sometimes aimlessly. Today I didn't fill my stomach with junk food. I have changed. And here's the train, as calm and impartial as it was back then. Raindrops tapped quietly on the window, and I kept smiling. How wonderful! The carriage was empty. Few would head to such a backwater in the middle of a workday. More likely away from it. Hello again, dear little town. As I see, time is still unkind to you. You're still hanging somewhere on the edge. Chin up, champ. You're beautiful in your own way. Dead streets with grim Soviet five-story buildings blown out around, and the fiery carpet of leaves soothed my gaze with its flame. And there's the path. Stormy waves crashed furiously on the rocks. Foam was biting into the solid stone. The sky was overcast with clouds. like back then. Only this time no break in the clouds was in sight. And it was not needed. I've become that ray of light that once dawned on me. And now my mission is to warm people's hearts. I crossed my legs in a lotus pose, perched on the cliff's edge. Today, wind isn't so icy. It's looking out for me, so I don't skip my classes. I burst into ringing laughter. Sometimes you live for months, drowning in the heavy routine, trying to just break even, and the meaning of life gets lost somewhere far back there, along with your happiness. The human mind is the greatest of earthly wonders and, at the same time, the worst curse. People set barriers within themselves, limiting their freedom, their thinking. But happiness is about being free. So many things try to take that freedom away daily, and many fall for it, luring themselves to sleep, gradually closing their eyes. I was always afraid of becoming like that, like everyone else, losing my little golden spark that I love so much. Someone gently tapped me on the shoulder. So, you still came, huh? Came, Estrella. Is this the end? I assume you already know the answer. I do, Martha. Good then. Want to share anything with me for the last time? You already know everything. True, but it's always polite to ask. Martha sat next to me, hugged my shoulders tightly, resting her head on my left shoulder. I felt how small droplets started to trickle down my cheeks. Will you miss me just much or very, very much? Does it matter? No, I'm just curious to guess. I smiled faintly. Thank you, Estrella. Thank you, Martha. I'm glad that you finally believed in yourself, stood strong, learned to divide into before and after, and found the right people around you. None of this would have happened without you. You're wrong. I'm just a grain of sand in this boundless world. Then why are you living now? You have found your inner self now, and I am at peace for you. So, no tearful speeches? Nope. I like to live beautifully, in an elegant manner, if you wish. Oh, come on! Even now you're playing your role. I made a face for a second, then burst into hearty laughter. That's just me, you know. I know, Martha. Oh, and good luck with Max. I allow you to keep going with him. Pfft, as if you wouldn't. And you are funny to even try to give me permission for something, girl. Well, trying to be. Asti, I believe it's time for me to go. Will you remember and not forget me? Never will. For sure, forever and never. You have my word. The sea crashed against the shore with gentle waves. Today, one story ended. But where one story ends, another always begins.